What is going on, guys? I am back today to do something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about an entire series of television today, and I'm not going to break down every single season or go through every different plot arc. But this is a show that I absolutely adored when it first aired on television, and recently I went back through and rewatched the entire series, mostly to just see if it still held up because it's something I have a lot of fond memories of watching initially. I think I started this show when the second or maybe third season was on TV and watched it all the way until it was finished, and I just recently went back through and rewatched the entire series again, and I'm excited to share my thoughts on it with you today. And the series of television I'm going to be talking about with you is Sons of Anarchy. Sons of Anarchy tells the story of single father Jax Teller finding loyalty to his outlaw motorcycle club tested by his growing unease concerning the group's lawlessness. While the club protects and patrols the town of Charming, California, keeping drug dealers away, its activities also include a thriving and lucrative illegal arms business. So, as I said, I'd watched this show initially. This was a rewatch of the show, and I absolutely loved it this time around. This is exactly what I look for when I'm looking for a television show. I'm looking for something that's riveting and engaging with great character writing, all kinds of twists and turns. And Sons of Anarchy has about everything you could want in a show when it comes to a great plot development and really interesting characters. And the reason for that is Sons of Anarchy does something really different. And I know a lot of shows have done this over the past few years where the protagonist of the show is not a hero. They're not necessarily a good person. And one of the things I like about Sons of Anarchy is virtually no one in the show is good. Everyone affiliated with the motorcycle club is a bad person in one way or another. But what makes the show so fascinating is that the filmmakers are able to humanize these people even when they're doing absolutely horrible things and make you feel for them in moments. But there's a push and pull where you'll watch episodes and you'll feel really terrible for someone, and then the very next episode you'll hate them again. And I love that so much. This show is filled with fantastic performances from top to bottom as well. I really, watching it this time around and kind of knowing the direction that the show was going to go, I was able to pay more attention specifically to just performances. And it's really incredible what these actors pull off in this series. I believe this show didn't win any Emmys, and I can't believe that it didn't because the performances in this are absolutely incredible. One of my favorite performances in the entire show is Katie Siegel's performance as Gemma Teller, Jax's mother, who is like a mother to most of the men that are in the motorcycle club. She plays one of the most interesting characters in all of television history because her character is a master manipulator. She can get whatever she wants, and she knows the right things to do to get what she wants out of a specific person, and she will completely shift her personality in 1 second just to get something out of someone. And what I love is the way that she comes off to some people. Certain people see her as very charming and charismatic. Other people just see her as a straight villain. And I love as the show progresses, her character just continues to surprise you. There was never a season of this show that I watched that I was not shocked by a decision that her character made. And she just gives one of the best performances in all of television. Ron Perlman, who is at the beginning of the show the president of the motorcycle club, who took over after Jax's dad died, he plays one of the best villains in any TV show. And it's really interesting because they vilify him really early on, and then they give him a little bit of a moment to where you think, oh, maybe his motivations might change, and then he just continues to get worse and worse and worse as the show goes on. And I love characters like that because it's hard to be in a show and be the person that everyone hates, but Ron Perlman does a phenomenal job at playing that character that's just so awful. There's so many members of the motorcycle club who I really like in the show that give really fantastic performances. I just think this show from top to bottom was casted so incredibly well, and everyone does a great job at just fully realizing the characters and bringing this story to life. Tara Knowles, played by Maggie Siff, Tiff, who becomes Jax Teller's love interest in the show, is a really interesting character as well, because she is one of the most good-natured characters in the whole series. She's kind of drawn into this because her and Jax have a romantic relationship and a history in the past, and the two of them start to date again, and they start to form a relationship. And what's really interesting is you're always rooting for her character, but we get moments throughout the show where you can feel the motorcycle club's manipulation on her, and you can kind of feel how it's changing her as a person and kind of shifting her actions. And she doesn't necessarily become full-on evil at any moment, but it's really cool to have a character who is so unimpacted by the actions of the motorcycle club from early on, and that show them and bring them in being impacted by it, and how it's impossible not to be impacted in that situation by the club. And I think her character is a really great blank slate to add in as like a, what would happen if just a regular person got involved with all this crazy stuff that this motorcycle club is doing. And I always thought her character was really interesting, and watching the show this time around, I loved her character even more and thought she brought so much to the show. The morality that the show juggles is really fascinating too, because of the justification that the motorcycle club has for doing specific things. Obviously, the way they make most of their money is they trade guns and they sell guns to people, and they do not deal in drugs. They refuse to get into drug dealing, and if they find other motorcycle clubs are dealing drugs in Charming, they run them out, or they kill people, or do whatever they have to do to make sure drugs don't run through. But the show gets to a period where they introduce like, hey, maybe the only way we can make enough money to survive is if we start to sell drugs. And so then they start questioning their own morality and start doing things against this own set of rules that they've set up. And I think it's really interesting to think about a group that is committing all these crimes and doing all these things that can get them in a bunch of trouble, really cares about any sort of moral code of conduct. But I think the way that the show juggles that and has conversations surrounding it is really fascinating, and I love it a lot. It's really interesting to watch the show and to see conversations around those elements. It's also interesting to see how they can manipulate some of the police, but some of the police aren't in their pocket, and how they have to navigate it. And it's all a power system. The entire show is just kind of like, the people in Charming know who the Sons of Anarchy motorcycle club are. They understand the amount of power that they have, and they can really get away with pretty much anything they want to a degree. There's periods in time where, like, if the wrong person comes into town as far as law enforcement, then things get a little dicier for them. But the show does a really great job at creating really unique plot arcs in each season surrounding this motorcycle club trying to survive. And then Jax, played by Charlie Hunnam, who is our lead character, he is our protagonist, finding these letters from his dad, and his dad not liking being involved in the gun industry and wanting to get them out of running guns, and him thinking that he will have this power if he can get into the presidency, if he can ever push Ron Perlman out of the way, that he might be able to set the club up with legitimate business to where people won't be negatively impacted by seriously breaking the law. And so that adds another really interesting idea into the story. And I love that every episode just keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's suspenseful. It's great. Just rewatching the finale recently, it's like one of the most intense finales of television. I love it so much. I think the show ends on a really beautifully poetic note. One of the few shows that I feel like really satisfied me at the end. Like, there's a lot of shows that I've loved over the years that I feel like have had incredibly unsatisfying endings, but this is one that did not. I really appreciated the ending and thought it was handled really well. And I just think this is a brilliant series of television. If you've never got around to watching it, every season is available on Hulu right now, and it's 100% worth jumping in and watching. So have you seen Sons of Anarchy? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I think this show is absolutely brilliant. I love it so much, and I'm so glad that I rewatched it again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.